Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And welcome to On the Air with Power Squared. This week we're going to take a look back at 2021.
Yes.
As it starts to enter our rearview mirror.
Or Power Squared rewind, if you will.
Right.
Since YouTube won't do it.
So, 2021 was not the year I think anybody thought it was going to be.
No.
We're all hoping that everything would be over behind us, but it looks like COVID is still with us.
Yeah.
And
first Delta, now Omicron.
Right. So it's had an effect on not only Power Squared, but probably everybody's lives in general, unless, of course, you just don't wear a mask and don't get vaccinated, don't care.
Right.
But everybody else, it's affected you.
Yeah.
So, we've tried to stay productive. We released 2 issues this year.
Yes.
Issues 11 and 12, which finish off the trilogy of What's in a Name, where we introduce the Convincer
Yes.
to readers, and we hope that you'll pick those up. I guess I'll use this as a selling point. All the comic books are available at the campus store at powersquaredcomicbook.com/the campus store.
Yes.
So, and we encourage you, of course, if you're watching this, to enroll, and so that way you'll get our newsletter, which you know when things come out. Anyway, so 11 and 12. So, how do we feel about What's in a Name?
Like in general? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it was our first. Was the last issues we had with Nina as the colorist, and
I think it turned out pretty well.
Right, I think it was. So I think it was a pretty good issue. I think we're starting to kind of get our groove by this point.
Well, we better.
Let's hope. So we finished those issues published. Actually, those are leftovers in a way from the Kickstarter we did in 2019.
Yeah.
Those were the 3 issues that if you paid money, you have a character named in one of the issues.
Yeah.
And, of course, that was actually successful and people took it. And so those issues technically went out in 2019.
Well, early access.
Right, early access. But they were published in 2021.
Yeah.
So then we started working on, we actually already finished 13, 14, and 15, and so we were working on finishing up 16 at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
I have down that Julie was doing coloring on that, and we started and completed not only 16, but 17 and 18 and 19.
Yes.
So we finished 4 issues. my withered hand. We finished 4 issues this year and started work on number 20. Well, actually, we're still working on issue 19, still being colored and I guess lettered.
Yeah.
So I got
and lettering depends on the color, eh?
Right. So we want to talk a little bit about. So 19 was your first as the lead writer.
Yeah. Kama Itachi.
Right.
That was at least the working title, but I guess that just became the name.
Yeah.
Again, it was partly influenced by a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype called Yosenju that was based around the concept, and then I thought about, what if the boys actually went up against, 3 yokai that they couldn't see or were too fast for them to interact with, so I wrote the issue around that idea.
Okay. So before that, we were 16 through 18 is a trilogy called Mocha and Raven.
Yeah.
Where we all know who Mocha is because you've been watching and reading along, but Raven is another yokai.
Yes.
And she's a three-taloned raven.
3-legged raven called a Yatagarasu.
Right. And she and Mocha have some history, and she and Mocha kind of reunite in not necessarily the happiest ways.
Right.
In this issue. And if you read issue 1, we bring Billy O'Shea back.
That's right.
All right. So it's worth it. So those will be coming out hopefully in the next year or so, because the goal for next year is to get 13 and 14 and 15 out.
Yes.
So we still have a ways to go get these out in public. Okay, so are there any issues that you feel good about? I mean, and the issue now we're working on is issue 20.
Yes.
We just started working on that with Rachel, and that's called Mission. At this point, Mission I Stand to Stand.
Yes.
And is one of the older stories we've had sort of sitting around for a while.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the original concepts.
Right. So we're finally getting around to that. And I do remember talking about it a long time ago. We started working on it. So and we started it back when the U.S. was still in Afghanistan. We thought they'd be there forever, and
it was during the Forever War.
They ended that.
Some people call it.
Yeah. So that'll be being worked on. That's I think a 2-issue arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll have some other stuff coming up. So we'll get to that in the next podcast. So if you've been again watching and playing along, we had a signing set up. It took a long time to set up at Golden Apple for March in 2020.
Yeah, we were going to do it, but then right before our date, the
world shut down.
Yeah,
everybody holed up, and so that got canceled. And I guess we felt secure enough that it was at that point it was Delta, and if you were vaccinated, you were okay. And so we kind of thought we could risk it, and we did a signing in September.
Yeah.
At Golden Apple.
Yeah.
Which is also Batman Day.
Yes.
And
so they're also giving away free Batman comics.
And one of the things they asked us to do was to hand out free Batman comic books. So that signing was fun. It was not I would not say it was a huge success. I mean, we had a few people, but not like overwhelming.
No, not a huge turnout, though. Sadly, we kind of expected that.
Yeah, well, and also it was a Saturday afternoon during COVID.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a...
So in a way, what did we expect?
Right. But it was nice. We took Julia along.
Yeah.
And that was great. I had actually never had met her until that day. So that was nice. And she went along, and I think it was a good bonding experience.
Yeah.
But not a huge... I don't think anybody joined our ranks or anything like that because of it. But that's not here nor there. We're not complaining.
We did still sell some stuff.
Yes, we did. And actually to a former teacher of yours.
Yeah.
And Trevor's.
Did not expect that.
No. Not our big sell. But it was not, we did sell a few, and it was nice to get out there and do it again. And it'd be nice to do it again, but not for a while because Omicron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that's been a constant is we've done this show on the air with Power Squared.
Yes.
Every week. Now this is, I should admit this is taped ahead, but we've been live every Friday.
Yeah.
And I guess we had one incident during the time where the recording kind of went kapooey, and we had to you and I did a sort of a recap the next day because we had nothing to, I guess we weren't recorded or something like that.
Yeah.
It's fun. The fun of a live show. But we've had we've had a lot of guests on the show.
Yes, we have.
And I know that was we kind of toned that down towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But we started off in January. One of the people we had on the show was the G-Man Comics. It's Rick Offenberger, Jim Burrows, and Eric Bennett.
Yeah.
Who are the three of the people behind that. It's kind of a pretty big series. I mean, they have a lot of characters and a lot of storylines going, and it's a much bigger thing than Power Squared.
Yeah. And
they have a huge staff and all this. I mean, I felt very small by comparison. But it was fun to actually do that. And Rick is the editor of First Comics News, which has been a very good website for us.
Yeah.
So it was good to have him on the show. In February, we ended up with 3 fellow creators from Artithmeric.
Yes.
Sean Hall, who's the creator of Dirk Brody. Ben Lee and Tina Sessa Ward, who were the creators of
Delegates.
That's right. And Philip Lee, who's the creator behind
Baguette Robot.
Right. And it was a good experience. Actually, Philip Lee was pretty funny, as I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good to. If you're not getting unaware, we're on artithmeric.com/power squared. You can find our comic books there, as well as T-shirts and other paraphernalia. So these are other creators on that website. We thought it'd be fun to kind of, we all rise together, And so we had them on. It was nice.
Yeah.
Good. And it was I like having other creators on the show because you get to ask them questions that kind of about, they're kind of universal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my favorite is, of course, who's your ideal reader?
Yeah.
And nobody.
Maybe we should change that to who's your target demo?
That's right. Yeah. Because for our own little research.
Yeah.
In March, we had, and I think we reached out to David Wayland at Correct
Handed Comics.
Right. And he is the creator behind The Offspring and several other books.
Yeah.
And so he was nice enough to come on the show, and we were able to talk to him. We invited him on, so that was the first time we reached out to somebody we had no connection to.
Yeah.
Invited him on. That was kind of fun. We also did, or you did, the first book review.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ended up doing a review for the blog, Trophy Unlocked, for House of Leaves. House of Leaves, over time, became kind of a divisive book.
Uh-huh.
But when I was playing the beginner's guide, I saw that it's the closest thing to a House of Leaves game, so I decided to read the book. Although it was also the game was also compared to Pale Fire, but when I looked up the premises of both books, I decided to check out House of Leaves, and I kind of regretted doing that. It wasn't a positive review. There were things I did like about the book, when I read it had weird formatting. I was all in on that.
Uh-huh.
But there was the character Johnny Truant, who is I am aware of his narrative significance, but he was too obnoxious for me to handle, so I just skipped him, and he told me I could skip him, so I skipped him.
So that was the first time we've reviewed a book on the show.
I feel like I could have done a better job.
Well, hey, first time,
Yeah.
You get better as you go along. The next week, this is week 1, 2, 3, 4. The next week, we interviewed Jamal Hennessey.
Yeah.
Who is a comic book marketing person. I'll say, he had written a book that was on a Kickstarter. We don't have the book with us now, but it was all about how to market your comic book.
Yeah.
And so we had signed up for one of the things with the Kickstarter. If you paid extra, you could have a private meeting with him, right? Yeah. Which we did. And then we said, would you want to be on the show? And he said yes. I'm always surprised when people do. And so he was on the show, and he said I think he said it was a good interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should check that. All these are also available, and we'll have a link, of course, because you'll be watching this on the website, on the YouTube channel. But we'll have a link to the YouTube channel so you can watch all these.
Yeah.
So that was number 80, if you're counting. 81, we brought Lucas Sheffield.
Yeah.
Who is the man down under.
Yes.
He is. I think this was his second time on the show. He and his wife his partner and child.
Yeah.
Bought a caravan and are driving around Australia.
Yeah.
Sort of
see more of.
Yeah, seeing the
country.
sights, not really with any sort of home base. I guess maybe their parents' houses or their home bases or whatever, but they're just sort of exploring Australia. And he's also doing Angry Fred comics.
Yes.
So it was a great. I like having him on the show. He's very funny.
Yeah.
And it's sort of fun to hear about a different place altogether.
Yeah.
So as we turn the page, in April, that was just through March. In April, we had John Dexter on, who was doing a Kickstarter for his book Alpha Dogs.
Yeah, he approached.
Yes, he was. Yes, he approached us. That was the first time somebody actually said, "Hey, can I be on your show?"
So since it was the first time, we said, "Okay,
Sure." Somebody wants to be on the show, sure. And so he was good. His book did his Kickstarter funded. Book's come out, and I have a copy. It's about a dog.
Yeah.
It was much better than I was expecting. So it's good. We started having team meetings in April. We'd had them, I think people on the show, I'll say the girls, but it's Rachel and Julia and Trevor on the show in January and I think February, but we started having regular team meetings in April, and we've continued having them the whole rest of the year.
yeah,
And it's just a chance for us we're in constant contact with them. It's not like we don't see them until on the show, but it's a chance for them to come on and talk about, their experience. I get to ask them questions.
And be more transparent about the progress of the book.
Right. And, we get to, it's just nice to see everybody, so I enjoy those
Yeah,
shows. We also had a long interview that we intended with John Barber, who was then the editor of IDW.
yeah, the editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
That was very insightful and informative. We got to ask him a question related to Transformers. Probably won't go anywhere now, but
No, but it was very. He gave us a lot of time, and I give him credit for that. And I do feel like we kind of were wearing out our welcome towards the end there, but it's like an hour and a half,
yeah,
and it's a pretty career spanning up to that point interview.
yeah,
Yeah, so you should definitely try to check it out if you have a chance. That's OAPS number 84.
yes,
In June, because we were going to put out issue 12,
yeah,
I got the right number. I always get screwed up. We had Nina Gaylord come back on.
yeah,
Nina was our third published but fourth overall colorist.
yeah,
If that makes any sense. And she was with us for a lot of issues from 6 through 12.
yeah,
And so she came back on to talk about her experience with working with him, what she's doing now and stuff. So that was kind of fun to catch up. We've reached out to the other colorists to see if they wanted to catch up, but so far they haven't wanted to.
right.
All right.
Well, at least we reached out.
Yeah. In July, we had Lucas back on the show
Yes.
because this time he was actually doing a Kickstarter, and again, we want to support people that we know.
Yeah.
So we had him on the show, and Angry Fred Viva Las Vegas, or
Viva Los Angry.
Viva Las Angry, yeah. So that's his Kickstarter. It's funded. I'm still waiting for my book and for the T-shirt, Lucas. Come on. But anyway, that's supposedly coming soon. I think he was a really a lot of different weird tier things. Like you could get little Lego
Yeah.
Angry Freds, and you could get playing cards. And I opted for the T-shirt and the book. So we're still waiting for that. But anyway, that should be looking forward to that. During July, we hit our 100th show.
Yeah, it's a really big milestone there.
We wanted to do something spectacular, so we had on Carla Hoke,
Yes.
the writer behind Fight Right book,
Yeah.
whom we had met a couple years before at a novel writing conference from Writer's Digest in Pasadena.
Yes.
And she was there talking about her book and how basically it's kind of, if you're like us, you're probably not into a lot of fistfights and gunplay, but she was trying to write a book for writers to sort of tell you like what happens if you punch somebody or whatever.
What it feels like to get hit, or
and talk about all these martial arts, some of which she's a black belt at.
Yes.
And
so she knows her stuff.
Right. And we had sort of made a suggestion to her that she try to be on at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because I they have those kind of instructional panels. I thought she'd be really great for that.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Comic-Con hasn't been going on. But hopefully she'll be there someday. But she was gracious enough to give us some time.
Yeah.
And be on the show. So it was our 100th show.
Yeah.
It's kind of a biggie.
I have read the book cover to cover.
I have too.
And it's a very good starting point for writing a fight scene.
Yeah, and so we would recommend that to other writers who are trying to write fight scenes. It doesn't come up that much in fantasy comic books as far as when it feels like throw a punch. But
I also like that she admits that there's only so much room in the book to talk about certain things, and so if you want to dig deeper into this martial art, then there's other material out there.
Yeah, she's not trying to be an omnibus, but just trying to cover things. It was very good.
Yeah,
appreciate her being on the show. So we're doing some support for some other people's Kickstarters. Tina from Delegates rejoined us in September to talk about their Kickstarter. They, along with Sean Hall, Dirk Brody, were doing Kickstarters with Artif Merrick.
Yes.
What they want to do is raise some money and get these books translated into French.
Yeah.
And then sell them in France as BDs, or what we think of as graphic novels.
Yeah.
So we were there to help. We wanted to support her Kickstarter, and she was on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was, again, a successful Kickstarter. I mean, I think so far we haven't anybody on that hasn't funded.
Right.
So I think we're kind of like magical. So,
so in November, we had something happened that postponed I guess you could say, interview. Right. With Steve Leffler, who was doing a Kickstarter for Movie Star 1956.
Right.
So this was a post-Kickstarter
podcast. He
podcast.
Couldn't be on before the Kickstarter. He came on the Friday afterwards.
Yeah. It was still an interesting.
Yeah. The problem we had, and you'll hear it if you watch it, or if you listen to it or watch it, is that his audio kept cutting out.
Yeah.
Especially
every time he was saying something interesting.
Yeah. What? So we're aware of that, but
yeah,
it was the spontaneity of it. He's, again, very interesting guy. Been doing it for a long time. Did a lot of different things. Well worth checking out. In December, we had on half of Danger and Mayhem.
Yes.
We were going to have Mayhem on the show, and she brought on Danger, Jeremy Danger Dean.
That's his legal middle name.
Right. As we asked him. And he was going to be on, so they were going to be on the show together. Her audio, I guess, wasn't doing well, so she left, and so we were stuck talking to him. Not stuck, but ended up talking with him.
I know what you mean. Hopefully the viewer or listener knows what I mean.
Yeah, we're not taking it down right now. They were there or he was there to talk about Comics Rebel.
Yeah, this was a platform they are starting. Right,
a digital comic book platform where they're trying to kind of fix some wrongs as they see it in the industry as far as creators getting money.
Yeah. The interview was interesting, though after talking to them, we still want to see how the whole thing pans out.
Yeah. And I wish
nothing against them, but there are too many fly-by-night.
There are a lot of platforms out there, all of which kind of promise you, and I guess we're on I think 5 platforms now, so I kind of feel like we're
4 platforms.
Well,
technically,
yeah, because Comixology is now
Kindle.
Kindle, yeah. So I guess we're on 4 platforms.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
So that kind of that brings us to current.
Yes.
Christmas time. So anything that really stands out from 2021?
Well, there was a point where we also, outside of the podcast, we streamed the maiden demo for Resident Evil Village.
Sorry, I skipped over that, yeah.
That was an interesting experience. Although I think for any future game streams, we could probably handle it better instead of like having a ring light in our face.
Which is always fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk. We are trying to upgrade our lighting.
Yes.
So hopefully that'll show up next year, but that's another podcast.
Yeah. In case any viewers are wondering, the ring light is on because we wanted the tree to be in its full glory.
Right. Yeah. Wanted to be able to see the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That'd be washed out. What are they standing in front of? All right. So.
If you are watching this on YouTube and you like this, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and consider ringing that bell.
All right, so until next time, I'm David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.